So, hi everyone, and thank you so much for talking to me today about my Acting Your Age campaign in advance of International Women's Day, with, as you know, the focus being on women over the age of 45 in the entertainment industry. So, I was just hoping you could do a quick introduction so that we all know who you are.
Shall I go first?
Yes, please, Maureen.
My name is Maureen Beattie. I'm an actress and I'm also the president of Equity UK. Very nice to be here.
Mhm. Jean, do you want to go next?
Okay. Hello, I'm Jean Rogers. I'm an actress, former Vice President of Equity. I'm presently a counsellor and on the Women's Committee. Nice
Jackie?
Hi, I'm Jackie Clune. I'm an actress, I don't know, I never know which one to say anymore, and a writer and Vice President of Equity.
And Lynda.
Yeah, I'm Lynda Rooke, and I'll go with Jackie on this one. I'm an actor, and I'm also Vice President of Equity along with Jackie.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. Maureen, can I come to you first? As President of Equity, can you talk a little bit about the work that Equity is doing around representation, and also more specifically your own feelings around the representation of women over the age of 45 in the UK today?
Absolutely. Thanks very much. First of all, I would just like to say that this is very exciting, this new thing that's happening, this new relationship that we have with you, Nikki, and your fantastic campaign, which I know you've been working on for a couple of years now. And it's great that we are now joined up together, and we can, because, we know we've got more power. The more of us there are, the more powerful we become. The monstrous regiment of women, watch out, guys, we're coming. But to answer your question, so yes, I mean, Equity, our membership, 48,000 people, you come in all shapes and sizes, and we have got committees which are dedicated to the work of supporting and enhancing the working lives of our LGBT plus members, our the members who experience racism. That's my phone. That was good, wasn't it? Hopefully that won't happen again. Our members who experience racism, our deaf and disabled members, and our women's committee, our female members. And they all individually work very hard on the specific issues to do with these different communities within the equity community, and that all feeds into the work that we do. The thing about the Women's Committee, of course, and I'm sure Jean will speak more about that later, is that we are 50% of the population. We are more than 50% of the equity membership, and we are in every single one of these communities. So, this fight, this battle that has been going on endlessly to just give us an equal bite at the cake. That's all we want. We're not wanting more. We don't want special privileges. We don't want you to be handicapped in any way, like a golf match. We just want to have we want the same privileges, which is what it is, that you guys get without even thinking about it. The moment you're born, there it is, in your lap. We want a bit of that. So specifically, this is really great because it will focus our minds on the particular problems met by the women who get to an age, and as you have said many times, Nikki, get to the age of 45 or around about there and just disappear. Might as well never have existed on the planet. And it's a bit like, you're a footballer, you can only go on playing football. But if you're a male in this business, that doesn't happen to you. So we've got to right that balance, and I look forward very much. We also, I should mention just briefly, we have our casting manifesto, which was co-written by obviously our members, equity members, by Spotlight and by the Casting Directors Guild, and that includes all of this work that we are doing to make what you see on your screen, and what you see on your stages, and what you hear on your radio in the dramas, it reflects life back. And we're looking at that afresh again, and this work will feed into that as well, and into all our lobbying. So basically, it's a big thank you from me, Nikki.
Thank you for endorsing as well at this stage. So I should explain that we've had obviously the formal endorsement, but until that goes to committee, and I'm sure you can explain a little bit more about that, it's not sort of adopted across the union as a whole at this stage. But it's an intention, I think, because I can't see why it wouldn't be. But I'm just enormously grateful for a campaigner. To have my union backing this is huge. And as a woman, as an audience member, and as a performer, Jackie and Lynda, can I just come to you both now as vice presidents? What do you feel is the stumbling block for women over the age of 45? Lynda, shall I come to you first on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it's the lack of job opportunities, that there are decisions made when they're drawing up scripts, be it for screen and in terms of television, film, or the stage, actually, where the decision is that the focus should be on what is seen as nubile, young, fresh, nothing to do with anybody over 45, sort of as you approach the end of what one would call the reproductive years, that suddenly you are not of relevance then. And there are clearly, people make decisions about this when they're actually drawing up ideas for scripts, etc., and the ideas for series on television and stuff. I mean, I'm at the point now when I watch things on television, and it's not a question of I'm not in it, it's a question of there's nobody of my age in it.
Yeah.
And are women, I should say, and it just shocks me and frustrates me. And it's something that I became aware of when I got to 45, and it's not got any better. In fact, it's got worse. And during this whole COVID business, of course, there are all sorts of manner of excuses made about we can't use somebody X, Y, or Z because of their age and their potential. Should we cast them, they could not be very well on set. Well, I think the risks were right across the board. I think that was ludicrous and has since been proved to be the case. But there are all sorts of battles like that. I mean, for me, the thing is, you enter into the profession as usually in your younger years. Potentially you then have children. So you're taken up with childcare and other things, and the focus is removed. You come out the other end, and then the jobs all start to dry up. Yeah. And for those people who've spoken out on it, and that we're in this panel, other people who have often spoken out on this, and been criticised and slightly sneered about. What I would say is, you don't deserve that. What you deserve is a damn medal if you've survived in this business, having gone through all of those things. And I'd also, the final thing I would say is just that, when you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s or whatever now, it's different than back in the 1960s, 70s and 80s. The generations that are coming through now are not the same. And what I'm noticing, and from people who are not in the industry, is say, I don't see myself represented. It's a rather sentimental view and a nostalgic view of what an older woman looks like, not the women who are now 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or whatever. And I think it's about time people were called to account for that.
Absolutely. Jackie, would you add to that? Or
completely endorse everything that Maureen and Lynda have said. I mean, for me, the stumbling blocks are linked to stumbling blocks for women generally. I mean, some of us at the TUC Women's Committee, Women's Conference this week, and speaker after speaker was a woman in her 50s, 60s, just doing incredible work, really interesting, diverse range of older women, none of whom looked or sounded like anyone you will see on a sitcom or a drama that you watch on TV. Just the outrageous stereotypes and limited caricatures of women in their prime is really outrageous and actually really boring, because I always say that, diversity is not just about doing what's right and what's fair, but it's about being more interesting, being a bit more interested in people as they really are. So why keep telling the same stories from the same perspective all the time? It just gets old and lazy and boring. So for me, the stumbling blocks are about wider misogyny, about how women are represented in all walks of life and how women are viewed. So, you know, anyone in any job over 50, or even just walking down the street is invisible. You know, a woman over 50, 60 is invisible because, as Lynda says, you know, she's past the reproductive useful years.
Yeah.
So she's now worthless. And I think that obviously shows on our TV screens, in films and on stage, that, you know, these sort of terrible way that women are made invisible and made superfluous in their later years sort of is pernicious throughout the whole of society. And I'd also say that sometimes we internalize that. So, I mean, it's quite extraordinary to hear an actress or female actor describe themselves as older, because we have this thing called playing age. So, you know, on our spotlight, it will say playing age. And, you know, we all want to tick 25 to 40 or whatever. As you get older, you can't do that. But you do like to think that your playing age might be a decade younger than you are. And to actually come out as an older woman is like, you know, we're in plain sight, we're older women, but to actually say it and to self-identify is an act of bravery, quite honestly, because people will pigeonhole you quite a lot for doing that. And you don't want to kind of burst the bubble and admit, yeah, I'm older, what is there for me? Because the answer is probably not very much. And that's mostly because of laziness.
Agree, I totally agree. And I think there's two issues for me as well. The first is that just as we reach the age where our lives are more interesting, we have more confidence, and we have so much life experience to offer, we're jettisoned as such, effectively, really forcibly retired at 45. And the other thing is, we know from all the data and the research that has been done by fantastic groups like Equal Representation for Actresses, 50/50 2020, the audience is there. The audience is there. When women predominantly feature within a cast, the audience share rises incredibly. So to me, it makes no financial sense or economic sense apart from anything else. But can I come to you, Jean, because you've been campaigning on this and highlighting this and championing this for a long time now. And I want to bring to you something that is said repeatedly in interviews, often with older actresses, which is that the industry and the situation for older women is so much better now. Would you agree that that was the case?
Yes, thank you. And thank you so much, Nikki, for bringing this particular part of diversity, which affects women so much, back into the foreground yet again.
Thank you.
So much of what my sisters here have been saying, and some of it I can remember saying with Lynda, we've been saying for a number of years through the campaigns, which I know started before I was vice president on the Women's Committee, which I had nothing to do with. For 10 years, I knew about the Women's Committee. I was never invited as a councillor to go along and speak to them. But they were beavering away in the background. And at the time when I first joined the council, only a third of the councillors were women. It was the usual 2 to 1, you know, that we talk about consistently about the way in which women are sidelined. And there was always an air of patronizing when a motion came in from the committee wanting to change something. And I think in the past, I know at a lot of trade unions, men used to be the chair of women's committees, you know, so there was that kind of thing going on. And so for 10 years I didn't quite know what they were really up to, and then I discovered they'd been looking at the lack of career possibilities for women, the way in which it all petered out. You said 45. When I took up the baton, like we're all doing, they were talking about 35. A young actress I'd worked with on an 8born show, she had on her 35th birthday gone to do an audition, and her agent had mentioned to the casting person, oh yes, no, she is, no, don't worry, because they said under 35. She's only 35 today. The casting person said, oh no, 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 we can't have her, we can't have her. And this is what Lynda is talking about. It's the topping down. And people so often, I remember Glenda Jackson saying to Mandy Fenton and myself in Parliament, oh, it's the writers, darling, it's the writers. If we can get the writers right, it'll be all right. No, it's the commissioning editors, it's the people above, it's the money people, and the commerce comes into this. It's definitely behind. And though you may say, but there's this powerful group of people that will pay to watch, because women, you know, over half the public, they don't believe it. And actually, when at the trade union conferences, which Jackie, I'm so pleased you experienced, Lynda came along to a lot of them when she was on the Women's Committee, and that power in that hall, and we're going back 10, 15 years, aren't we? Well, at least 10 years. And that power amongst those women is not there in the way they're paid. This is in society, and we reflect society, or we should. You know, those are the stories that you, Jackie, say they're wonderful. Why aren't we telling them? Because those women have stories, but they haven't got the power. And that's where and again, I go back to Lynda, because Lynda will remember some of the motions that we took to the Women's Trade Conference, and they were about portrayal. They were about how we are there to portray them, and we can give them visibility, and we can give them power. Then we can give them the standing within the public, because it's all, you know, sort of unbiased conscience. You know what I'm trying to say? It's sort of, we have all these pictures in our minds, and most of them are totally wrong when it comes to women.
And women, we're expected to come up with the solutions always to the problems that aren't ones that we necessarily create. So what do you, if I go again around the panel, starting with you, Jean, what do you think would be your top 3 asks if you were able to sit down with UK broadcasters, film production companies, and more widely across the industry, because it affects female presenters as well? You know, we'll often hear, you know, female presenters in stand-up comedy. It's the same. It's, as you said, Jackie, it's a problem across all areas where women are represented. So what would be your top 3 ideas, perhaps, Jean, to tackle it?
Do you know, again, somebody else mentioned about audience. Well, you did, didn't you, about audiences?
Yeah.
Audience is very, very important. Unfortunately, I think, like with the Arts Council, they decide who the audience are. They don't really know who the audience are, I don't think. You know, putting everybody in boxes, that's not what it's about. I think when we did our petition, our equal opportunities petition in 2010, I think it was, we talked to the public then, and they recognized that, and their husbands, we stood outside one of the theatres in St Martin's Lane, and the women were going in at the matinee with their husbands, and their husbands said, oh yes, we'd like to see women better on the screen, you know, because they're married to them. You know, it's only the top film executives who are married to, well, second time, third time, fourth time round, to younger and younger. So I think we should get them to really talk to the audiences and really think who the audiences are. Why are they so denigrating to older women? Their mothers are older women, their wives invariably are, though you can see that maybe that's a problem, but their mothers are, their grandparent mothers, you know, their sisters, these men.
It was interesting because one of the things that Ofcom called for in their diversity reporting and the monitoring, and one of the things that's produced within the Diamond Fourth Cut report, which is supposed to represent it, I noticed a huge change between 2018 and the latest report in 2020. So what they've done is they've combined age and gender. So when you're attempting to try and identify and to monitor how representation is being presented and how it's being fulfilled across all audience demographics, it's impossible to do that now when you look at that report, because you can't identify whether it's men over the age of 50 or women over the age of 50.
We are up against an absolutely massive, great, all-consuming maw, which is called patriarchy.
Yeah.
And they are not going to let go of it anytime soon unless we absolutely go for this, which of course I know all of us are doing. But they are going to hold on to that. Of course they are, because the world under patriarchy is great for the guys. It's fantastic for the guys. They get to do everything they want. I was part, Jean was talking about the event at the Sphinx Theatre, the amazing Sue Parrish, who is the artistic director there. And she's been battling for decades about this. And she got together a group of us. We went to talk to the Arts Council of England. Nicholas Sirota was very, yes, please come and talk to us. We sat in a room. We had lots of email conversations like that. This is when they were about to bring out the final draft of their 10-year plan, what was going to happen. And we talked to them, and there was a lot of nodding and smiling. And the report came out, and gender parity was mentioned twice, once in the preamble, and at the end in the wash-up. Nowhere in the central part, the meat of that document was and you literally, you think, will I just throw myself off a bridge? What is the point? So number one for me is getting these bodies, these bodies who have the purse strings. They have got to say, no, this is not good enough. But because bodies like that are very much under the patriarchy, they are loathed. They are loathed to go to the other guys and go, listen, do you know what? Seriously. I mean, there are some fantastic people on our side and there's some fantastic men on our side. Yeah. We know that, but not enough of them. So that would be my number one. But I also wanted to just say, about this thing of Diamond, the Diamond survey is shocking. It's absolutely and utterly, complete and utter waste of time and money. It should be stopped immediately. The last report I read was positively dangerous because it literally was, all these people who go, we white people, we get the thing because we're better. It fed into that absolutely. It was literally going, it's fine. There's plenty of diversity.
Yeah.
It's all fine. Yeah. Like that. No, it's not. It's just not.
Would you say your asks
my
are?
Three.
So
my
three demands, because I think we're at the point now where...
Well, I would like to see a female Director General of the BBC.
Fantastic.
That'd be a first, wouldn't it, eh? Yeah. And maybe from a more diverse background. I'll just say, I'll just chuck that one in as well, in terms of class and all that kind of thing as well. And I also think that there has to be a proper dialogue amongst commissioners, because now that we have independence, creating series, etc., for the channels, what's happening is that they kind of act on their own. They go off, they create, they bring it back, and there's no real dialogue or control or public accountability. And I think there has to be that. I think I am I was watching something the other night and I nearly kicked the screen in because there wasn't even a woman in it to start with, and I was like, oh yeah, great. And it's to do with all these links back to heritage and classical canon, and men portray those roles better. No, they don't. You've got to use a bit of imagination. The third thing I would say is accountability. To do when those people who are giving out investment to various, especially in theatre, etc., in companies and things, there has to be some accountability where that money goes. Those days of that artistic blah, 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 brouhaha, where you can't quite pin anything down, that's got to stop for all sorts of reasons. We're in 2021, not 1921.
Yeah.
And I really think that we've got to move these things through. At my top one will be a female DG at the BBC. Wouldn't that be a good one?
Do you think there's any
May
Sorry.
I just step in? So just because something that I'm sure you're going to come to Jackie, and I just wanted to say that the thing about these surveys and everything like that, it is absolutely, as has been said, it's about what exactly is it that we're seeing. And one of the things is, what are the parts of the women who are appearing? And I remember you, Jackie, telling that story about the game that you play with your children, which I thought is fantastic.
Yes, so if I'm watching TV with my teenage children and there's lots of important men talking, and a woman will come onto the screen, perhaps to deliver some tea or to give someone a ticket, they'll say, "Oh, that's my part. That's the part I've got." And they'll go, "No, Mummy, that's not your part, because she had a line. That had a line, and you don't normally get the line." But it's a way of me pointing out to them with some, you know, what we're up against. And I think for me, my three things would be the gatekeepers, as Lynda says, they need to change. We need more women in power. We need more female production companies. We need women's writing to be more valued and to be produced more. The second thing I'd say, we need to work on our allies, as Maureen said. You know, the patriarchy is going to be loath to hand over its power. So we have to persuade the good men that there are, that is a good thing to do for everybody. And that can be harder than you think, even in 2021, because most men will say they're supportive of us until it comes down to the part where they might lose something, and then they're not so keen. And it's persuading the good men, you know, what sort of a comrade are you if you don't already get that? You know, you need to get that. And I think that's important too. I mean, I've had people say to me, I once did an all-female Shakespeare, and an actor asked me, "Oh, which parts are you playing?" And I told him, and he said, "Oh, those are my roles." Like, you know, the way older actors often have their sort of list of roles that they've played in Shakespeare or have often played. And I thought, well, they're not now, are they? And sometimes people need to realize, men need to realize, that it may involve them having to step back a little bit. And they need to be educated for why that's important and why it benefits us all. And I think thirdly, we need to really keep encouraging each other, because it's really, really hard to keep banging this drum. And I think what you're doing is great, and I think we can all get behind it, and we need to empower and encourage each other to keep going, because it's like death by many small cuts, isn't it? It's not like there's one fatal blow that stops you from working. It's a sort of gradual loss of power and visibility, and it can be very dispiriting, very undermining, and we need to keep bigging each other up, praising each other, pushing the narrative, claiming the narrative, and making sure that we are heard. And it's that sort of tenacity, you know, it's that sort of stomach for a fight that can be so tiring, especially if you've got caring responsibilities, or you know, it just feels too big. It really takes a lot of willpower to keep going, and we need to keep stoking that fire.
We are one another's strength, aren't we? That's what I always believe about women. You see it every day in every family.
And we're on the shoulders of giants. That's what we have to remember.
Absolutely,
Yesterday I watched, I think I told you, Lynda, the chain makers of Birmingham, their story, 1910, and the way they, you know, they were led by Mary MacArthur, who was a wonderful Scottish lady who moved down into England, but she led those women, not just on that fight, but, you know, just to be recognized, that they could have a trade union and so on. And it's those wonderful women. And we've got women back the time of Ellen Terry, her daughter and so on, who were part of the movement within equity of you know, trying to get the voice of women heard. And And we mustn't forget that. And when we lose heart, we have to remember all those women that we owe it to, just to keep. Well, I always think of it, you know, they want to get the sticky paper off my shoe, but I'm not going to let it. It's there, you know.
But it's also, it's not just that you're absolutely correct. We owe huge debts to all the women who've come before us. But I think my main motivator in this is that we've got to be the last generation of women that this happens to, because it will happen to, you know, today's young in-demand actress is tomorrow's unemployed middle-aged actress, and I want us to be that last generation that this is happening to.
Yeah, absolutely, Nikki. My elder daughter is an actor, and I want it stops here. Do you know what I mean? I feel it's my responsibility, along with all the other sisters, to say it stops here, and we don't keep going over this. I don't want her, when she gets to my age, to be sat here in a conversation like this. You know.
Thank you.
Sorry, this is my second time I've interrupted you. But it sprang into my mind there, that which is very appropriate for this particular campaign, which is, you know, the 5 ages of an actor or an actress. Is, who is Maureen Beattie? Get me Maureen Beattie. Get me the Maureen Beattie type. Get me a younger version of Maureen Beattie. Who is Maureen Beattie? I'm just tipping into the who is Maureen Beattie at the moment. I'm going to drag myself back from it. I'll keep you posted. I'll let you know.
Thank you all so much for talking to me today. Here's to International Women's Day 2021. Here's to all of you for putting this on the agenda and for working as hard as you all are all of the time. And I'm trying not to get emotional, but I just am so grateful, and thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.